Hello, greetings. My name is Brooke. I'm a fourth year psychology student, and I am technically almost, well, I would say like I'm technically finished, but not technically. I still have a quiz exam to do and an assessment to submit, but I'm at the end. It is very late on a Saturday evening. Um, I just watched my video of the first 6 weeks, and so I just thought now would be a good time to check in for the remainder of the semester. Um, yeah, the last, I guess, 6+ weeks has been pretty full on. But like, it's in a good way. I'm just opening my calendar because it's always interesting to see objectively what that is like. And now that I'm asking it to, it doesn't want to. So let me unhide roads. All right, here we go. So last time I picked up from week 6 and I hadn't finished it yet. So where we go? Yeah, that's cool. All right, so in week 7, I had the first 2 quizzes that I did. Um, I found both of them, like relatively challenging, like in a good way, but not like overly hard. There's some assessments where you complete them and you're like, oh, I didn't do so well, huh, or like, I don't really know how I went, or you're like, oh, that I feel good about that. I remember with both of these, I was like, I have absolutely no idea how I went with these. And I did really well with both of them. So don't know how to. And I think the reason why that feeling is relevant is because I just completed another quiz, and I found that one, even though it's a unit that I found really enjoyable, really engaging, sort of effortless, not effortless, but like it was just one of those ones where I felt very easily on the same page with the content and all that sort of stuff. But I actually found that exam quite hard, and I had some internet technical errors, and anyway, it's a whole thing there. So I'm just gonna leave that. So yeah, so week 7, that was the first 2 quizzes. Um, just busy. Like it's the time of semester where things just get really chaotic, and I feel like I always say that when my time is booked out, it just in a semester that just seems to be the way it is, and I'm okay with that. Especially because I am working um, multiple jobs, and I throughout the semester was preparing for volunteering. I actually started crisis support volunteering at the very, like, I think like week 12. It was so full on, but very interesting. I can talk about that more. Anyway, so did I talk about week 7? Yes, I did. That's when I had the quizzes. Week 8, what's going on here? So I start the week off working, do write-ups. The next day I'm doing crisis support training, working, assessment. Oof. Um, I could go day by day, but essentially these days just look like if they're a mixture of working, working, either attending class, um, doing the work prior to post class lectures, etc., etc. Every single moment from about like 8:30 to like 9 p.m. is accounted for. It's crazy. But that like is also including breaks. Like there were times where I was just like, nope, my brain can't do anymore. Need to leave it as that. And there's times where I can actually see that I was unwell, and so when I'm not well, I just stop because there's no point pushing myself to a breaking point. I have a neurological condition. It flares up and is particularly sensitive to things like stress, exhaustion, sleep deprivation, not eating enough, dehydration. I could go on and on. All of those things sort of tend to be prevalent when you're a student. So I just have to be really easy on myself in terms of finding a balance between like pushing myself and seeing what I can get done, but also knowing, when to pull back, because if I don't pull back, I have seizures and I'm unwell for a lot longer. So it's not worth it. So, yeah. Anyway, week 9. So, oh my gosh, I remember week 9 sucked. Only because I had to travel in the midst of it. And the travel and stuff was really nice, really awesome. Went to a wedding, but afterwards I became really unwell. And just traveling, being away like that sort of put my schedule out, which is fine. I'm always adapting my schedule because that's sort of how you have to be. Like there's going to be times where we have more capacity and less. I just remember like getting through that week and just being so exhausted, and that's week 9. Week 10, yeah, this like it just I feel like a broken record. It's just like every single day, moment, time, hour, if not I'm working at my job, doing what's it called, the crisis support training, if not working, because I have 2 jobs, so working one if not the other. I have things in my own personal life that need to get done. There's even one day where I wrote, there was a block of time, and I think I looked at the next day or the day after, and I was like, I don't remember what I did here, so I just put, I don't remember. That's funny to me. Week 11. Yeah, same stuff. Working. Week 12. Oh my gosh, week 12 was full on. So I actually started doing placement shifts for digital crisis support. So that's where you actually, one-on-one providing crisis support to individuals. Very interesting, but it was a lot of pressure, and because I was also working, it was week 12. There was just a lot going on. I just remember being really exhausted, but I was mentally prepared for that week because I knew it was going to be full on. But at the end of it, I was like, whew, made it through it fine. And I've been working on like other major assessments as well. I'll talk about that in a second, actually. Then we've got like week 13, even though it stops at week 12. Oh, that was this week. Oh my god, my brain tired. That's okay. It's again been a busy week. Yeah, I've been working on assessment, revision, quiz. Yeah, and now starting to go through for the next one and having another assessment. Yeah, cool. So, very long story short, and I repeated myself so many times, but it has been very, very, very busy the last 6+ weeks. Very exhausting, but again, still really enjoyable once you're through it. I remember several times throughout it not feeling that same optimism, and sometimes it would just take a day or getting through the week and I'd be like, oh, it's not so bad. But looking back on it now, like it was challenging. It did require a lot of effort, but it was still enjoyable. And so the 2 units I'm doing, one of them is called Advanced Assessment and Intervention. That one was easily my favorite. It's just learning about like psychological assessment, and in a nutshell, essentially. More to it than that. But the other one is psychological research methods. Yeah, so it's essentially like, it's not stats, but it is stats because you're learning about statistical methods and how to apply them in research methods. It's not a bad unit. I'm not someone who enjoys stats, only because it's like that sort of thing I struggle with, but I'm determined to get better at it. So I don't dislike it per se, I just struggle with it. And I found that the teaching stuff in like at my university are all incredible. In all honesty, they're all incredibly engaging, very clever. So love them. But I just feel as though the actual content in the research methods unit had moments where there could have been further clarity. Things could have been, yeah. There's room for improvement, and anyway, so the point of that is research methods, not something I love, but determined to get better at. So it's something I have chipped away at throughout the semester. We have done some interesting assessments. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to say talk about the three major ones. So we've done a role play assessment in advanced assessment and intervention. So essentially, you sort of do. It's been so long now that I kind of forget the intricate details, but what were we doing? I think I would know having done it. But it's late at night and I have been so focused on other things. Let me pull it up because I don't want to talk out of a place of not knowing, and so just bear with me for a second. Let me just pull up the assessment. It was actually really good, so it's really sad that I can't remember the exact details of, because I just want to get it right. So yeah, cool. Yeah, so it was a counselling, role play, and self-reflection. So we paired up with someone in one of our classes, and so we then demonstrated our ability to, do some attending and non-verbal skills, practice micro skills like reflection of content, reflection of feelings, combining both where relevant. Also, micro skills in terms of questioning and acquiring information from, eliciting information from the person you're speaking with. And also just sort of giving that, empathic presentation to another human being. I found it really interesting. Then we had a self-reflection where you sort of just review essentially your session and talk about some strengths and weaknesses. And we didn't say it as strengths and weaknesses. We talked about it in terms of achievements and room for improvement. I found that to be a really interesting assessment. Learned a lot from it. Found it really interesting. The second assessment we're going to talk about was we did I have it. Focus. We did a cognitive report. Essentially, we were given a case study with some information. Well, I say some information, it was extensive information, very cool. But we were given a completed WISC, which is a Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. It's a psychological assessment measure of very vaguely intelligence. And we're given sort of a completed one, and we had to interpret it as well as combine it with the information that we're given in the background. It's kind of like emulating like a report you would get in real life, a referral you would get in real life, and having the first part of it completed for you. So say like collecting all the background history, that stuff's already been done. So what you've been given is, even though you technically as a clinician would be doing this information, you've been given a report that's partially completed. You have a completed WISC form. You sort of have to interpret it. So that I found so extremely interesting. Yes, I don't know what more to say about it than that. Very interesting, um, very like challenging, but in a really good way. Because I really like psychological assessment, and with psychological assessment, right, there's so many different ways you can interpret things, right? And I guess in the safety of being at university, and being educated from people who are specialists and experts in this area, um, they sort of say there is sort of not really a right or wrong answer, because we're just looking at the process of how you come to your conclusions, how you evidence um, your outcomes. So yeah, I found that assessment to be particularly interesting, especially someone who really likes psychological assessment. So that was that. And another assessment that we completed was a pre-registration assessment. So essentially, simply put, a lot of the focus in research methods has been about open science, the importance of it, and as we are, scientist practitioners, they're really trying to train us to engage with that open science framework. And a component of open science framework is pre-registering research. So our pre-registration study was we were given we had to choose a causal hypothesis, and we sort of had to pretend as though we were going to pre-register a study, just talk about the variables, how we intended to measure them. We calculated a sample size, how we calculated it, potential limitations of our research, also data analysis method that was appropriate for our study, and the anticipated in the analysis sort of what values we were looking for. Essentially just it's showing that we understood what we were doing, right? We would also talk about, if with data, how we anticipated to clean it, etc., etc., etc. It was modified, of course, because it's not an actual pre-registration, but it essentially is just testing, again, our logic of how we would approach something in real life. Again, challenging, because it's so broad. Like, we were given broad scope to, you just had to choose psychological variables, and there had to be, so the way it was is we were looking at a confound. So there was a confound that you were controlling for, but it just had to be a psychological variable, which, sounds easy, but when you think of how broad psychology is and how to measure things, it gets complicated really quickly. But it was good. It was interesting and good in that respect for me. Anyway, this is a very long story short. Even though it's been a really challenging semester, I again have still really enjoyed it. There's been moments, like, I think everyone would sort of say didn't enjoy, but I think it's kind of part of the learning process. It can be really frustrating, but I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that sort of talking about some of the assessments I did throughout it are helpful. I was able to manage working, study, volunteering. Again, it took effort, great, and it wasn't easy, but it was all manageable, and I'm grateful for being able to do it all. I do not think I would have been able to do this full time, just with my own constraints of needing to work, seeking to volunteer, managing chronic conditions. It's just the nature of what it is, and that's okay. There's people who can do that. I'm not one of them, and that's okay. So I'm really happy with how everything has gone. Haven't 100% finished, so what is it? So it's Saturday now. I have an exam coming up on Friday, and I have a report to submit ASAP. I'm hoping to either get that completed tomorrow, if not Monday. Anyway, what was I going to end with? I have 6 weeks off between now and the next semester. In the honours year at my university, this semester one was the traditional like semester one. I don't know how all different unis work, but usually at my university, semester one, semester two, they do have other um, like terms and weeks, etc., that haven't really applied to me yet. But the next 2 units I've got coming up, they're in terms rather than semesters. So the break between now and the next term is about 6 weeks. So I've got 6 weeks off, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, hopefully I'll see if there's anything else that I can share in the meantime. But take care. Thank you for being here, and bye.